There are over 329 million people that live in the United States. Barely over 1% of adults practices martial arts regularly. But what happens when you pick a fight with the 1%? Most people, about 99% of the population, never think about how to fight, and because of this, they have no idea what to do when they get in that situation. After 6 million years of human evolution, it is no longer practical to flail our arms at each other during a fight. Against a trained opponent, you're gonna need more strategy. You're gonna have to think scientifically. The side kick is a technique that stems from Asia. It can be traced back to the 1400s, over 700 years ago. It's an attack that utilizes your longest weapon, your leg. Most commonly used at the torso, where if thrown correctly it can damage ribs and organs. But if you lack flexibility to throw these kicks at head height or to the body, they can still be made use of by throwing them to the leg. But don't just take my word for it.
You see, to reach me, you must move to me. Your attack offers me an opportunity to intercept you. In this case, I'm using my longest weapon, my sidekick, against the nearest target, your kneecap. This can be compared to your left jab in boxing, except it's much more damaging.
I see. Well, speaking of a left jab...
Oh, this time I intercept your emotional tenseness.
So the side kick can be devastating if landed to the right area because it makes use of the largest muscles in the human body. Against the average person, a side kick could be very useful, but what about against a trained opponent? Is it enough to simply know how to throw an effective side kick, even if you've trained it to be quick and effective? How do you land it against an opponent who is trained? The answer is strategy. You're going to have to set it up. Now here's a few ways to set up the side kick. One option are quick, well-placed jabs to your opponent's face. A similar psychological trick that magicians use to distract their audiences with one hand, meanwhile with the other hand, they're setting up their trick. With some quick snap jabs to the face, you can fake the last one at the last second, opening your opponent's guard down below so that you can throw an effective side kick to the body. By throwing so many strikes to your opponent's face, they begin to anticipate them, and they can't help but focus on guarding and protecting their face. This is a great setup for the side kick. Mixing in quick snap kicks in combination with your punches up high, it gets your opponent to begin to expect your kicks to come up high, so when you do throw the side kick to the body, they're expecting it to come to their head. But also, by performing quick level changes and striking to the head and to the body, it can overwhelm your opponent's guard, confuse them, and make them not know what to expect. They don't know whether to guard their head or their body, and this could be a good opening for the side kick to the stomach. It's also important to note that throwing side kicks and combinations could be a great defensive or counter technique because of how far away your head becomes when you throw the long side kick. It's much longer than your arm, as you can see here, so the side kick gets your head out of danger's way. Now, as I mentioned before, the side kick is most prevalent in karate and taekwondo martial arts, but in the modern world of mixed martial arts, could we possibly mix it in with a more common Muay Thai technique? Oftentimes, Muay Thai fighters expect a quick round snap counter after a shin check. But what if we use a side kick instead? What if they are expecting the roundhouse, but we instead deliver a rear leg side kick to the opening of their stomach? They may go to check your counter. They may go to grab your counter roundhouse, but instead, the kick still slips through. In fact, setting them up with a few round snap kicks first, high and low, can be a good way to effectively get them to anticipate the round snap kick, especially if they're trained in Muay Thai. And that way you're really setting them up. Another good setup is with a lot of low leg kicks. You get them to expect the low leg kick so that when they do go to see that low leg move, they're expecting a roundhouse, but really it swings through and bam! But what if we want more distance? What if we want more power? That's when the long skipping sidekick comes in handy. The long skipping sidekick, the most powerful sidekick there is, made famous in the 70s by Bruce Lee. Set up the long skipping sidekick by dancing out of range and then, at the last second, explode into a sidekick. It could be set up with jabs up high. Your opponent gets used to a certain tempo, and then, once you get them used to a certain rhythm, you throw that rhythm off by quickly and unexpectedly exploding into the sidekick. Our next strategy on the list is another one of the most powerful sidekicks, a variation, the turning sidekick. The turning sidekick is very useful as a counterattack against opponents' kicks and punches, because the quick turn not only generates a lot of power because of momentum, but also it causes your opponent's strikes to graze off of you a bit better. So even if they do land, they're not going to land as cleanly as they would before. This technique could be set up with a lot of high jabs and combinations to open up their body. And then if they do go to strike at you, you could counter quickly with the round turning sidekick. When well placed and well timed, the turning sidekick has proven to be very effective in fights. Even in professional UFC fights against the most highly trained fighters. It has dropped people with broken ribs and destroyed livers. It could be set up with other kicks. You could throw a quick lead leg sidekick and immediately you're in the perfect position to throw a quick turning sidekick. But what if we want to make this counterattack a little more explosive? That's where the jumping turning sidekick comes in handy. As its name suggests, this is just a turning sidekick but with a jump. You turn and then you explode off the ground into your opponent's body. This explosive counterattack is useful under the same circumstances as the regular turning sidekick. But let's kick it up a notch. To confuse your opponent further, you could use the Taekwondo double jump turn sidekick, also known as the 360 turn sidekick or the double tap. It's a highly effective technique that tends to overwhelm even the most trained opponents. Performed by swinging the first leg up before turning into the jumping sidekick. The first leg could also be a full-blown sidekick itself. The technique confuses the opponent. They may see the first leg but not the second one, as seen here. Another clever strategy to open up your sidekick against a trained opponent is to perform a quick round snap kick with the same leg and then lead right into the sidekick. The round snap kick may not be your most powerful, but that's okay because it's just a distraction. And then you bring the leg through and slam right into their open stomach. The perfect way to get past a Muay Thai shin check. And here we have the tornado sidekick, our final tactic on the list of things to use to set up your sidekick against a trained opponent. The tornado kick is usually followed up by a roundhouse, but in this case we're going to jump, spin, and swing into a sidekick, confusing your opponent and hitting them right in the gut. Did you enjoy these strategies? If so, let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, hit like, subscribe, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.